I know you guys wanted an action-packed magic isekai in fantasy world, so here's one. Enjoy it like Amani. In his previous life, Alan admired fantasy worlds filled with magic and swords. While daydreaming, an older man calls out to the young master, telling him to have a sense of urgency as there are only 3 months left before the entrance exam. In the Eulbria Kingdom's Rovan Viscounty, the young man sits idly on the grass, waiting for a fish to take his bait. Because he's not the honored one, soon enough, the line becomes taut, prompting Alan to imbue his rod with magic. He's taken aback as the fish tries to swim away, but he gathers himself and pulls up. A horned fish emerges from the water, and he delightfully looks at his catch, tossing it into the bag filled with many more. Someone brightly praises him from behind, but it's not Sukuna himself, and he looks back to see Ryan, amazed by his magic control. +1 in his harem. He tells her to stop being so formal, saying it's out of character, but she argues that they'd grown older, and that it's improper to address her lord's son casually. The third son of the Viscount finds her words amusing as she was swimming around in her undergarments just moments ago. Damn, my boy seeing it, sorry Woody. Blushing, she demands to know when that happened, and guesses that he skipped his lessons as Scored was looking for him. Sick of being forced to study, the noble hopes to have been born as a commoner instead. She can't believe his words, knowing he has the qualities to enroll in the Royal Academy, where only prodigies gather. He insists that he doesn't have such qualities, and is just like most people. In the end, he isn't a prodigy or anything that comes close. As he pulls another fish out, she's amazed by his proficiency at doing things he enjoys. Looking her in the eyes, he asks if she'll be happy if he enrolled. The question stuns her, and she looks down in silence, but quickly smiles. Rena says she'll be overjoyed, and will boast about him being her friend, maybe even about how she raised him. Getting serious, she promises to cheer for him sincerely, so he gets up to give it a try. Handing her the bag of fish, he leaves her stunned. He knows he should work hard, and begs someone to teach him the ways to study. In his mansion 4 hours later, Alan suddenly came to his senses, and realized that he had reincarnated. To be specific, he remembered the memories from his past life, due to the stress of being forced to study. Education is everything in the world. In his previous life, he tried hard and studied 24/7, simply obeying his parents. Even then, he wasn't accepted into the capital's national university. He studied hard at a private institution, and managed to get a job in a large company. Countless things were demanded from him, even those unrelated to his field. As such, he was always at a loss, waiting for the next order. At one point, he found an online fantasy novel about reincarnation, and desired to redo his life. Now, even if he hates to say it, he acknowledges studying as a precious talent. He suddenly feels relaxed, as if his head had cleared up in a moment. Suddenly, his family's tutor and butler, Scored, scolds him for being too relaxed, considering the upcoming examination. Getting into the Royal Academy has been the family's wish for centuries, and it'd be shameful to fail. Alan reasons that he was just lost in thought, and asks him to continue the lecture, proving his sense of urgency. The old man is taken by surprise, and regains his composure to proceed. The boy understands his puzzled expression, as his response is out of character. As the youngest child of the Viscount, he was spoiled, selfish, and stupid. Since awakening his memories, his hatred for studying has disappeared, and it's as if his present and past have merged. He wonders what happened if a musclehead and genius remixed. While Scored goes about the lesson, he thinks about the large number of families in the aristocratic system. There are even some commoners who descended from nobility. In their nation, there's something similar to kindergarten and high schools, and the education rate is high, as commoners were also educated. As such, academic standing holds value, and there's nothing more important. Although he's the third son of Viscount, he's essentially a rich commoner. He finally reincarnated into the magical world he longed for, but the world is much like his former. Preoccupied with his thoughts, Scored cuts through his mind, sternly glaring at him for spacing out once again. Saying he can't be fooled, Alan tells the old man to calm down and shows the notes he took from the lecture. Doing it automatically is a habit he developed as someone who recorded meetings. Told to inform him if he missed anything, the tutor scans the paper thoroughly. Scored began to tear up, thinking his sincerity had finally reached the young master. After years of trying, encouraged, he vows to maintain the pace and lead the boy to success. For that, he points to a framed sheet of paper on the wall. It's a strict schedule of schooling, which he calls the Absolute Success Project. Alan staggers from the packed list, but his past life switches on, making him consider it a relaxed day. Scored goes on about the regimen, but the boy demands that he modify it. Before the tutor could argue, he clarified his point and told him to increase the lecture time by 11 hours and remove the unnecessary breaks. Even this isn't enough for him, but there are still a bunch of things he wants to clarify. Moreover, he wants to avoid situations that would narrow his options. Scored appreciates his enthusiasm, but says consistency is what matters. He's right of course, but Alan isn't the same boy he was a few minutes ago. Slamming his hand on the table, the young master says it's not time to be relaxed as his house of dream rests on his shoulders. His determination reaches the butler as he never expected to hear such words from him. Acknowledging how serious he is, Scored agrees to adjust the schedule he prepared, but keeps the lunch breaks there, saying it's important. Alan falls from the old man's stubbornness and asks why he needs an hour for lunch, when a sandwich can be consumed in 15 minutes. He's told that such cold foods are ill-suited for a noble, earning him another scolding, as the boy insists that none of it will matter if he doesn't pass. The butler is too persistent with food, so Alan reasons that the academy is just a stepping stone, and that he'd eat worse meals as a knight. He considers life a battlefield, where the only way out is through. With this, he's decided to eat only portable rations for lunch from that point on. His determination sparks a fire in Scored's eyes and he stands upright, acknowledging the change his master went through. Calling him the private tutor of his family, Alan tells him to get some self-awareness. His expression goes blank and the boy wonders if he crossed the line. Soon enough, both of them are side by side, munching on dry rations. The silence passes and he says there's no need to start with him. However, the butler refuses, reminding him that they're on a battlefield and he can't worry about others. Since he'll be accomplishing assignments, he's told to take a restroom break. Refusing again, Scored shares that he's wearing diapers and will be fine in an unexpected situation. It takes the student by surprise and scares him just a tiny bit. A few days later, Alan panted as he ran through the town. Before awakening, he neglected basic training. Now he understands the importance and joy of following a certain pattern. As such, he started building his physical strength and sword techniques in the morning. Since the exam was close, he became obsessed with studying. Wondering if he could aim for the Royal Academy at that rate, he repeatedly swung his sword down. The probability of passing the preliminary round is 10% and he can't help but be interested. Preoccupied with what might happen to him in the future, he fails to hear the voice calling. He finally snaps out of it as Rena shouts his name, saying he was too concentrated to hear how she called so many times. Taking a closer look, she comments that he looks like a different person. As he wonders why, she points out how he's been practicing swordsmanship for a while. Alan says he's just doing what he wants to, making him think about his previous life, where he died at the age of 36. On his final day on the hospital bed, he looked at the sky, just like the clouds, while the winds guide him. It would have been better if he lived, doing things he wanted to do. Such were his last moments. Because of this, he'll do what he wants in this life, filled with the swords and magic he dreamt of. She's confused by his words. Getting an idea, she cautiously asks if he's going to give up on the exams. He says he won't, at least for now. Wanting to know more about this world, he needs to be in the academy. The boy is fine with anything, but to do what he wants to do, he'll get his best to be rid of regrets. Hearing him talk about regrets, Rena remembers how he asked if she'll be happy with his enrollment. Not wanting to have regrets, she apologizes to him and honestly says that she'll be lonely if he leaves. Adding on, she says he might become a different person if he entered the academy. He comforts her, assuring that there's no need to worry, as he isn't that pathetic. Her eyes sparkle with hope. If it's him, he'll definitely pass. She's certain that he won't just be famous in the region, but all over the country. With this, his friend encourages him to study and work hard. Holding his sword once more, he prepares to resume training, saying he'll see what he can do. At Dragoon Territory's capital, Dragray, someone expresses their dissatisfaction, saying a Benyar's child alone is interesting. In the shadows, Miria, Lord of the Dragoon House, sits in her room, commanding respect and attention. She asks about the Royal Academy's admission, as it'll affect the power balance between regions. The youngest son of Zaitswinger will not lose to the daughter of the annoying Reverence. Pointing to her granddaughter Faye, she says her talent is outstanding, even amongst the best, and warns against failing to reach a class. With a smile and focused eyes, the girl affirms her warning, saying she understands. Among the countless applications Miria read was a report about Alan, saying he was unlikely to pass. While holding commendable magic power, he was uninterested in academics. His physical abilities at that point were completely unknown. Little did anyone know that the young boy would later ingrate his name in the history of the kingdom. Among its citizens, only one young girl was able to glimpse his talent. Ending his practice, Alan suddenly asked Ryane how he used magic. 2 months had passed since Alan regained his past memories, and decided to live as he wanted. With a month left until the Academy's entrance exam, he's brimming with magic power. His brain and personality have changed, and it's as if his 12-year-old brain has combined with his previous life's 36 years of experience. For the past 2 months, he worked extremely hard, but things didn't go as planned. Pressing his palm out, he called for a fireball to shoot out, but nothing happened. It seems like he lacks the aptitude for magic, and can only use body-strengthening magic, which was something everyone else used. The skill is composed of magic power and manipulation. Magic power is determined by capacity and compressibility. The latter can be honed with hard work, but the former is set at birth. His capacity is 2020 times stronger than the average, and he can increase it a bit with compressibility. Enrollees in the academy average the same as his, and the top scores always surpass 10,000. On one hand, it's hard to digitize power with sense, and he was just told that his sense was high. Next is external magic, which involves shooting and casting spells. He tries multiple times, but all attempts result in the same empty call for a fireball. It's unfortunate, but he simply can't do it. Sulking over not having the ability in a magical world, Rina appeared, asking what a fireball is. Saying he was chanting, he adds that he shouldn't address him so casually as the son of a lord. She brightly refuses. Since he's leaving soon, she has no intention of holding back. Scored says no one passes the exam by chance, and the boy's hard work has proven that to him once more. He was surprised to hear that he wanted to study more, but he was more surprised one day when Alan reviewed all the past exam questions. To reach his goal efficiently, he journeyed to understand his own strength. With precise self-analysis, he answered all the past exams in several days. While it's an indication of Skurd's failure as a tutor, he understood, as their sessions often became discussions instead of lecture. For 2 months, he worked hard like he never has. If it's the him now, the young master might even reach the Royal Academy's A class. Alan's father is stunned to hear this as they were away, attending to social matters during all that. Realizing what his son went through, Viscount Bellwood buries his head in shame. The eldest, Grim, doubts his words, even suggesting that he mistook the exam for Rose's, his sister. The father agrees, as it makes sense, and they joke about the butler's age finally catching up to him. However, the old man remains silent amid their laughter, and an imposing tension filled the room. The two were stunned as Scored slowly explained how the young master spent 2 months doing his best without proper food or rest. Having been entrusted to support him, the tutor affirms his faith that the results will show in the exam. He remembers the boy forgetting to eat and sleep after enjoying the other world too much. Easing the tension, Grim accepts it as good news and decides to hear from Alan directly. He whispers to his father, saying they shouldn't pressure the boy, regardless of Skurd's words. At dinner, the youngest brightly greets his family at the dining hall, saying he's late as he was discussing the history of magic. Confused by the change, Bellwood expresses his understanding. Taking a seat, he confirms that their mother is still at the capital, as she has to look after Rose. With a pretentious expression, he lets out a laugh, feigning politeness. Having had enough, they tell him to speak freely, as the two are tired from social matters and their mother isn't there either. Delighted, his demeanor changes again, and he casually greets his brother and father. He was worried about acting like his old self without arousing suspicion. As he's feeling confident, his father suddenly takes his attention and asks how the preparations for the exams are going. Seeing their expectant eyes, he realizes it's only natural that they already know and were just being considerate. Trying to be careful, he humbly shares how he feels like he's somehow hanging on. They're confused, as the butler was particularly confident earlier. Alan softens up his score as mentioned, appreciating how hard he tries for him. His warm and genuine expression reaches the two, and Grim suggests leaving the rest to fate, as his formerly rampant brother is now doing his best. With this, they decide to believe in the young boy and enjoy the manor's drinks. Bellwood gets drunk in no time and goes on about being bothered, as the other viscounts boast about their children. As he defends Alan, the boy says he'd be a great father if he didn't drink so much. The day passes and he heads to the forest with Rina again. He bursts with power upon activating body strengthening, leaving the friend in awe. To use external magic, there are 2 necessary techniques. First is external ejection, also known as circulation. He does well there, as manipulation is his specialty. On the other hand, the second technique involves changing the power's nature, which he was remarkably inept at. The talent for change in nature doesn't improve above the age of 12, meaning it's almost impossible for him to use external magic. However, if he gets into the Royal Academy, he might find someone to teach him. With that in mind, he vows to pass the admissions exam no matter what. Rina thought he was kidding when he said he wanted to learn. Now, she believes he just might do it. As he reiterates how he'll do whatever he wants to, she's filled with curiosity about what he'll achieve outside their territory. Finally, the day to depart for the royal capital has come. Many have gathered to see Alan off, with Rena even handing him a basket for his journey. Standing tall, Skord approached his precious student, and the two shared a proud and knowing handshake, exchanging countless words amid the silence. Leaving his home behind, there were only 2 weeks left until the exam. The prodigious and popular third son, Alan, is politely bowing to his designated escort, Dio, taking the adventurer by surprise. It seems he's well-mannered, at least on the outside. There are 2 weeks left until the entrance exam. To reach the capital, it takes 12 days from drag raid by carriage, and another day and a half by magic train. The reason he took the escort mission was to keep a woman named Cecilia in the capital. If not for that, who would escort the young boy, who's obliviously reading a book in silence? Just then, monster spiders appeared, but they were all easily taken out by the escort. Clapping and calling him amazing, Alan brightly asks the adventurer to spar with him using his spear. He refuses as he's in the middle of a mission, but the persistent boy then calls for a break, eager to go against a spear. Humoring him, Dio accepts, much to the boy's delight. The spar begins, and it's immediately clear how the range of a spear is incomparable to a sword's. There's no way for an inexperienced person to stand their ground, which is only proven true as a strike to the ankles takes Alan down with no mercy. As he grimaced in pain, Dio believed that it'd keep him silent for a while, but he couldn't be more wrong. The boy kept getting up, regardless of how often he fell. Continuing to charge in, he exhibited his sincerity, making the adventurer acknowledge him. That said, he still refused to go easy. It seems that he's studying for the important entrance exam throughout the day. Early in the morning, he endlessly swings his sword in practice. He runs the same distance every day, and uses whatever time he has left to read books. Dio recalls a rumor about the prodigal son. In the end, Alan kept his routine until the end of their journey. Since it's time to say goodbye, the boy thanked him for teaching him so much, adding that he couldn't even land a hit. Completely aware of his determination, the man is certain that he'll become strong one day, leaving him words of encouragement. He watches as the boy leaves, even calling out to say something. Stopping himself, he lets the boy go, and silently wishes him luck with his exams. After the encounter, Dio wonders if he should start working hard as well. At Dragrade's platform for magic trains, Alan pushes through the crowd, and finds a clean and empty area for himself. He's headed to the life-changing entrance exam, and can't help but feel excited. Following his routine, he studied and slept repeatedly, even going out a few times, only to be met with disdainful looks. Eating happily, the night came, and he went out the coach to practice his swings as usual. Exuding magical power in the night, the boy swung his sword with complete concentration, and failed to notice that the morning had already come. Since he's scheduled to reach the capital soon, he decides to sleep for a while. Someone suddenly speaks to him from behind, saying she saw something interesting. Faye appears, standing tall with a smile. He noticed her presence since midnight, but found it creepy as she watched a person swing a wooden sword for 6 hours. He sets his mind on ignoring her, but she suddenly introduces herself, revealing her identity as a Fawn Dragoon. He immediately gets on his knees and bows his head, introducing himself in exchange. Of all the people, he wonders why one of the most powerful families is observing him. Rubbing his hands pathetically, he suggests getting acquainted, as their meeting must have been fate. Knowing she must be sick of such people, he hopes to drive her away like that, but she just laughs in amusement, finding him as interesting as expected. She was curious about him, as he's the brother of the talented Rose, but found him busy swinging. Since they're both going to take the exam, Faye wants to get along, but her words ring alarms in his head. Talking about the swings earlier, she guesses that he must have been trying to erase the lingering magic power. Doing it right before the exam means he's looking far into the future. With how much she noticed right away, he wonders if the academy is filled with monsters. Bowing again, he reasons that he's saving mana, as his magic power is embarrassingly low. To his surprise, she counters, giving an exact measurement of his magic power. Faye then shows off a device that measures others' power, and shares her dream to be a developer. Hearing her words, something clicks in his head, and he asks if she knows his sister. As she confirms it, calling her Tempest Rose, he wonders what the elder sister did. Aspiring to be a magic tool developer, she asks to be introduced, which he quickly accepts. He excuses himself, saying he needs to go to the bathroom. Before he could leave, Faye tells him to be more casual, as they're already friends. However, the idea doesn't really sit well with him. She then notes that a noble shouldn't bow without a reason, as it's what sinners do. Hearing this, he recalls a memory of his father, apologizing to his mother in that exact way. With the encounter done, Faye returns inside, and is met by her maid, Saya, who bows while politely expressing her relief that she's safe. The master apologizes for worrying her, adding that she saw an interesting sight. She's warned about regretting it if he finds out about her identity. That said, she's already introduced herself, as he was seconds away from ignoring her completely. The maid is taken aback, as a greeting alone from the lady is an honor. Feeling strongly about taking him in, Faye asks if they have any intel on the boy. As such, Saya reads his report, indicating a low possibility of passing, and noting his poor studying qualities. Hearing the bit about his inadequate studying, the lady remembers how hard he was training, and walks away, excited and looking forward to seeing him again soon. Meanwhile, at Central Station, Rose urges her mother to hurry, as Alan's train is about to arrive soon. Her mother calls her out, saying she took too much time choosing a dress. As the child tries to defend herself, the crowd around them follows with their eyes. Alan's family is composed of 2 parents and 4 children, with him being the youngest. Grimm graduated from a noble school, and will likely become the family head. He'll be supported by Beck, the second-born. Taking the magical toolmaker course and graduating with top grades was Rose, who's 4 years older than him. Everyone believed that she could enter the Royal Academy, but she fell short in magic capacity. Currently, she's researching at the Capital's Institute, which is like a graduate school. When she was home, she loved him very much, almost to the point of obsession. At one point, their parents put a limit on her letter sending, as she wrote to him absurdly often. This resulted in cursed letters written in characters so small that he had to use a magnifying glass. After a long journey, Alan finally arrived at the capital's central station. Upon leaving the train, he was immediately met with a familiar voice, and was surprised to see Rose, delightfully waving to her younger brother. He expected her to wear something other than the usual jersey, but he sees that she's now just attracting attention. Alan notes how beautiful his sister looks, and she in turn compliments how cool he has become. His pleased expressions quickly sink though, when he sees that their mother is also present. Cecilia quickly embarrasses Rose by mentioning how long it took for her to get dressed, causing the young lady to wonder why her mother would even say that. Alan then greets his stern-faced mother, who is standing with poise and also holding a long sword in a black sheath, which the young boy notices is attracting a lot of attention. She asks him if he came alone and carried such a huge luggage when he has such a small frame. Alan nervously recalls how his dad wanted Score to accompany him, but he politely refused since he wanted to have fun traveling alone. He nervously explains to Cecilia that he was accompanied by an escort up to Drag Raid, but he also wanted to act as an independent, full-fledged member of society. So he was able to convince his father to let him travel by himself. Rose is so proud to hear this and gives him a big embrace, while mentioning how happy she is that her brother has grown up, while Cecilia looks at him for a moment and finally says it is fine. Alan looks relieved, but his mother then asks, in an intimidating tone, if his father was really strongly against it. Alan recalls that his father gave his permission rather easily but tries to lie to his mother. However, Cecilia doesn't buy it and notes that she is going to have a chat with his father when they next meet. Alan mentally apologizes to his dad, whom we then see sneezing in a rather portentous manner, signaling that he will soon be heavily scolded while Score sits in front of a table. We then see the Royal Academy. Every year, more than 10,000 people take the exam. For those who pass, the path to Royal Knights opens up, and from the Nightmage and official courses, only 100 will enroll. This is the course Alan wants to join. With 2 days left until the entrance exam, he walks past the Academy's huge gates. He peeks inside, then decides to take a lap around the school's long fence. It is longer than he expected and it takes him a full hour to run around the entire school, which is more than 40 kilometers, or as big as the inside of the city. Despite his exhaustion, he thinks running will be good for his morning routine and plans to return tomorrow. He thinks about how much he is looking forward to his enrollment when he turns back and seems to notice something. He looks at the school fence but doesn't see anything, decides that he probably imagined it, and heads back home. We then see that there is actually a hidden camera on the tree inside the school premises that was recording his every move. Later at the Rovan Viscount house, Cecilia is heading to the table with some food when she sees Alan holding something. She asks what it is and he says they are portable emergency rations. The concerned parent wonders why he would eat something like that, and he states that he is preparing himself for the exam. She replies that building his body is also a knight's duty and so he must eat his breakfast properly, as she won't remind him again during lunch. Just then, Rose heads down the stairs, fresh out of bed. Cecilia tells her daughter to be more proper and points out that since the early morning, Alan has already worked out. In addition, she was able to witness how improved the young man's sword swings were. Rose is sad that she was not able to watch her brother swing his sword, but she says that since they are living together, she will have ample opportunity to watch him train on other days. However, Alan informs her that he is in fact planning to enter a dormitory if he passes the entrance exam. Rose can't believe it and shouts that he has no idea how long she has waited for this day when they will live together. He looks determined though and adds that he even got permission from his father. In rage, Rose unleashes a swift right hook right at Alan's face. His reflexes are quick though and he is able to block her punch with his hand. She is a bit surprised at his speed, commenting on how cool he has become. He mentions that as a magical tool developer, her hand is her life, so what is with her endangering it by using it as a fist? She pulls her hand back and then hits him with a knee to the midsection, followed by an uppercut that hits him directly in the face, sending him crashing into the wall. She taunts him, saying that she appreciates his concern for her hands, but since his face is so soft, she is unlikely to hurt them when she hits him. She takes a battle stance, ready to fight some more, but Cecilia shouts at them to quit playing around and eat their breakfast. She tells Rose that even if her brother enters the dormitory, she can still visit him anytime and she should be satisfied with that. She adds that as the head of the family has approved it, there is nothing left to discuss. Alan smiles triumphantly while still sitting on the floor, but Rose then bursts into tears. She insults him before running back to her room to cry. Alan takes a seat at the table and is ready to take a bite out of the energy bar, but his mother spots him and he quickly puts it back. We then see the Royal Academy's huge gates wide open as exam day has arrived. Alan is getting ready for a morning jog despite the hard pouring rain. His mother notices him getting ready, so he tells her that his daily routine has not changed, despite how big a day it is for him because of the entrance exam. Seeing how hard her son is working, Cecilia tells him how she has finally come to understand why Belle would put his trust in the boy to let him travel alone. Alan continues his running in the streets with a hood over his head, trying his best to use his body-enhancing magic. Being careful since it would be dangerous to overdo it considering how slippery the rain makes the floor. He manages his magic output with pinpoint timing, so that he can only use body enhancement at the last moments of each of his steps. He smiles at the activity, enjoying the little improvements he makes to his fundamentals. Later, Alan returns to his mother's house where he finds his sister, Rose, in a good mood. She is trying on a hair attachment scarf and looks in the mirror. Alan thinks that she is in such a good mood because he asked her sister yesterday to guide him around capital since he felt bad about how they had an argument. While in town, the boy bought Rose the scarf she has now as an apology, making the girl cry with tears of joy the moment she received it. The girl sings as she tries the gift on. Alan is creeped out since his sister seems to have intentionally chosen a scarf from the collection that has the same color as his hair. Cecilia sets the table for breakfast, and Alan sees that their mother includes the rations he always eats as a side dish, making him appreciative. Alan starts heading off to the Royal Academy, so his mother and sister see him off. As the boy walks, he looks at the sky and sees that the rain has stopped, giving way to a beautiful day. He arrives at the Royal Academy main gate to see that the area is crowded with people, all going for the entrance exam. A school representative who scans the people's mana capacity tells him that he has a capacity of an excellent 2,400, so she sends him off to continue with the practical exam. The boy looks around and sees how many people there are, all waiting, only to possibly fail. Alan arrives at the practical exam area, where he finds the ground to be so soft that it is hard to work on. A school representative tells the candidates to choose the equipment they want to have and go to an examiner so their mock battle with a fellow examinee can start. Alan picks up his practice weapon and looks around to see that the candidates are doing mock battles. No matter how much the boy looks, he can't help but think that every examiner is biased in judging the battles. He especially sees this with one instructor, who has unkempt hair and looks grizzled. Not wanting to have anything to do with the guy, Alan tries not to get close to him. He instead spots an examiner with a warm smile, who seems to be popular among the candidates and intends to go to him. However, the grizzled examiner spots him and tells him to come over to him. Not wanting to go, Alan instead ignores the guy. The man makes it clear that he knows that the kid is just pretending not to hear him and assures him that he has already passed the exam. Alan stops walking and asks him what he means. The examiner tells him that he knows he is the kid who has been running around the academy for 3 days now. He informs the boy that security around the academy is tight, especially during the entrance exam. So he made it his mission as the head of security to know what is going on around the school grounds. Alan panics, telling him that he has no bad intentions, so the man tells him that he has already realized that since the experts analyzed the footage of his running. He has also looked into the footage, which confirms to him that Alan passed the practical exam. He praises him for his magic manipulation during the rain and how it is already proof of his abilities. The man reiterates that Alan has passed, but since he still has to score the kid, the man tells him to attack him. The man also tells Alan that he will not counterattack so that he does not have to worry. Before the man can even finish speaking, Alan attacks him with a swing of his wooden sword. This only hypes up the examiner, who swings back. The boy intentionally loosens his grip on his wooden sword, sending the weapon